on their devices?
Indeed.
With that, I will call to order. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, I'll call to order a meeting of the Public Works Commission. And I guess I will start off by handing it over to Eleanor for the oath of office to be administered to new and reappointed commissioners. So,
great. Okay, I'm Eleanor Manzano.
Yours, Eleanor.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm Eleanor Manzano, the City Clerk, Redondo Beach. So if I could have Chairman Funabachi, please raise your right hand. And then I will also ask for, is it Bajaj?
Bhuvan Bajaj.
Bajaji. Okay, Commissioner Bajaji, if you please both raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Bhuvan Bajaj.
Do solemnly swear.
Craig Funabashi.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
That I will support and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
Bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States.
To the Constitution of the United States.
Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take
this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well.
And that I will well.
And that I will well.
And faithfully discharge.
And faithfully discharge.
And faithfully discharge.
The duties upon.
The duties upon.
The duties upon.
Which I'm about to enter.
Which I'm about to enter.
Which I'm about to enter.
Great, congratulations. I just wanted to let you know that I will be sending you a certificate, and this blue one with the border will be yours. You'll need to sign that, and then we'll send. There'll also be a copy, and we'll give you a self-addressed envelope. And if you can, please send that back to us for our records. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Congratulations, and then I'm just going to get back to
very
chair. And thank you very much. See you later.
Thank you.
Vicky will be taking over.
Thank you, Eleanor. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll start off with a roll call then now.
I guess I'll do the roll call. We have a Commissioner Garcia. I think he's here, but he's on mute, possibly. Commissioner Bajaj.
Present.
Commissioner Glass.
Here.
Commissioner Min.
Here.
Commissioner Hannon.
Here.
Vice Chair Simpson.
Here.
And Chair Funabashi.
Here. Okay, let's all stand. I see our virtual flag, and we'll have a salute to the flag with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
All right, thank you. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the agenda? I didn't see anything that jumped out immediately to rearrange anything, but I obviously am looking to get an approval of the agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hannon. Who's the second by?
Hey.
Oh, second. Uh-oh.
I don't think I ever received the agenda itself. And also I checked online. I didn't see that posted on the website either.
we didn't get a copy of it to my knowledge, but I did, it was available on the website.
That's right, and I was able to obtain it from the website. The only emails that I received were links to our meeting here, so I thought it was understood, though, that each of us could get the agenda from the city's website. So does everyone have a copy of the agenda now? Or is there anyone who does not have a copy of the agenda?
I can make a suggestion. This is Vicki Kronberger. The easiest way to access it is redondo.com/RBTV. Then you click on Agenda and Minutes, and that'll take you to the calendar page. And it should be at the very top because the meeting's already started.
I'm sorry, what was the /? It was redondo.org /
RBTV, like as a beach
All right.
television. Quickest way to get there. It's kind of a shortcut.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I mean, I see it now, but in checking the registrar web page on the 2020, it wasn't showing up there. I just checked again, and it also wasn't on there. So maybe in the future, it might be better just to email that out so we know for sure we got it.
Okay, and I'll actually go ahead and make a mental note of that now when we get to the end of the meeting and referral staff. Perhaps we can just have a simple restatement of having the link to the city's agenda for the Public Works Commission. It's a way that once you finally navigate through to it, it just becomes a straight link, I think, to that page. I had to navigate it a little bit myself, obviously through the commission pages, the meeting, and then seeing the availability of both the agenda, the full agenda with all the detailed, including administrative reports and all that, as well as just a 3-page agenda. There's a couple different formats that are available once you navigate to that page on the city's website. Also, I'll suggest that you'll see that we really only have 2 key items, which are reviews of capital improvement projects. So again, I didn't see anything that necessarily jumped out due to public participation or any other reason that would warrant changing the agenda or reorganizing it. But of course, obviously, make sure that all of you have had a chance to see it. Is that the case? Is there anyone who has not seen it yet? Okay, so it seems like everyone has it. So again, just want to get an approval for the order of the agenda. I think we did have a motion by Commissioner Hannan, and I believe a second by Commissioner Glass. So I will right. Commissioner Glass?
Sorry, I was muted. Okay.
Approval of the agenda?
Yep.
Okay. Commissioner Hannan?
Yes.
Commissioner Bajaj?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia? Do we have your vote, Commissioner Garcia?
He's muted.
Needs to unmute.
I think his mic isn't working.
Yeah.
It does appear that his mic is not working because he was unmuted.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
and I can,
Can we get him to chat and approve?
Wave.
I would make a suggestion that he call. There's a phone number on the Zoom invitation that he can call in so he can listen from his phone if his computer audio is not working.
Vicky, could you send him that that phone number in the chat line?
Actually, I think I can. Let me get it for you. I'm gonna mute myself, excuse me.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make an amendment to the minutes. It shows me you're arriving late at 7:45. I did arrive about 10 minutes late, but it's off by about half an hour on the minutes for our last meeting.
We still need to finish this vote. don't we?
okay. And yeah, hold that thought. When we circle back on the consent calendar, which includes the minutes, I'll certainly entertain changes then. Before I go back to Commissioner Garcia, though, I will, Commissioner Min, take your vote on the agenda as presented.
I'm going to have to vote no, until we make the amendment.
The amendment to the agenda?
I'm sorry. Did you say the amendment to the agenda
Yeah.
or the minutes?
Agenda.
Okay.
Well, you and I were talking about the minutes a moment ago, but we have the motion on the floor now is just to approve the agenda as presented.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was hearing minutes. Yes, then I'll vote yes for that.
Okay. Commissioner Garcia?
He has in the chat room has indicated a yes in chat.
You're nodding
Okay.
his head. Okay. So that means yes.
Okay. All right. If that's acceptable officially, then we have the agenda as presented. That'll take us to the blue folder. Okay. There were no blue folder items, so I'll read the consent calendar now. Item F on the agenda, the business items except those formally noticed for a public hearing are assigned to the consent calendar. The commissioner members may request that any consent calendar items be removed, discussed, and acted upon separately. Removed from the consent calendar will be taken up under the excluded consent below. Those items remaining on the consent calendar will be approved in one motion following oral communications. So we've got F1, the posting of our meeting, F2, the minutes. We have no excluded consent calendar items. So with that, let's see. All communications. All right, so now then I guess we can take the suggested changes to the minutes, and then I'll circle back for one motion to approve all of them. So Commissioner Min, you had a change to the minutes to update the actual time of your arrival of the meeting. Is that right?
That's correct. And also, I don't know if this is possible.
Okay,
I was marked as absent. It was marked as absent. I was there for the entire meeting except for the first 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay, do any other commissioners have any changes or suggestions for the minutes?
Just to chime in real quick, this is Vicki Kronberger once more. The minute secretary will check the video and confirm that. And if it's accurate, obviously, we will make that correction on the minutes.
Yes, yes.
Pertaining to Commissioner Minnie's arrival. But we do have an archive to check, and she will do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, unless there are any other suggestions for changes, then I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I will make that motion.
I will second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Simpson and a second from Commissioner Glass. I'll call the vote. Commissioner Bajaj?
Yes.
Oh, this would be your first meeting,
Do I have
so
to abstain?
I would imagine.
I think I need to abstain from this.
I think an abstain, that would be yes, with the
Yeah.
understanding that without being in attendance at the meeting, that the
I would
minutes
agree.
would not reflect your attendance. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Garcia,
You put a yes in the chat.
did I get a nod? Okay, I can see it. Commissioner Glass,
Yes.
yes, and Commissioner Hannon
Yes.
and Commissioner Min.
Yes.
Okay, so that motion passes. Thank you.
And
This
there are
part of the
no
meeting is
public,
public participation on non-agenda. No, okay, so we have no one, no cards.
I
All
want to
right.
actually tell you that there was no public communication relative to the consent calendar. And, but if you're moving on, as far as I'm aware, there are no public communications either for the non-agenda items.
Non-agenda items, H. Okay, thank you. And no e-comments or emails from the public?
No, sir.
Okay, so we have no items continued from a previous agenda. So we'll jump into tonight's discussions, starting off with J1, capital improvement projects, status updates, and a receive and file opportunity for capital improvement project status updates. So I'll pass it over to staff. It's all yours, Gene.
Chairperson Funabashi, before we get started and Gene actually starts with this, I did want to come back to Commissioner Garcia. Were you able to try the phone call in to see if you can participate orally on the meeting? We can't hear you. Just want to know if you've tried the phone numbers, because I think it's going to be imperative if you're going to be asking questions to go through that. You're working on the phone part. Thank you so much. We'll let Eugene go forward then.
All righty. Good evening, commissioners, vice chair and chair, and welcome to Commissioner Bajaj, your first commission meeting. My first presentation tonight, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. There we go. All right, notice new banner background, new updated PowerPoint presentation slides. This is actually not because Commissioner Bajaj was showing up. It just happened to be, I felt like we needed a change. And so I'm trying something a little bit different this time around. All right. So as Chair Funabashi has mentioned, my first presentation tonight, item 8-1, I don't know if it's appropriately written as 8-1 in our agenda, but it's a CIP status update. So, as we all kind of know, the city does have a CIP program, or a capital improvement projects program. It's a multi-year planning, budget, and construction program that tries to matches the city's financial resources with facility improvements, infrastructure improvements, and typically these take several years to kind of put together over a period of time. The CIP is generally comprised of projects that meet several different parameters, but typically they're kind of narrowed down into either new type, replacement type, or improvements to infrastructure, which include things such as buildings, roads, and parks. Public works that typically involve multiple phases, we typically look at conceptual design, actual design, putting together or reviewing plans and specifications, cost estimates, construction, and of course, ultimately construction management. The planning process as a whole does involve regular status checks with different department directors to ensure accountability and cost-effective project completion. The CIP process actually involves periodic community review as well to ensure that the projects with the highest need do end up receiving the priority and the majority funding. And so there's a lot of involvement with the public. There's a lot of discussions that are also had with the city council, and oftentimes some of these projects, at least in other stages, can also come through commission meetings. The city council's semi-annual strategic planning workshops, monthly strategic planning updates, and year-end CIP review all do allow for these little adjustments or review for the programs as they become necessary. Now, in our department, we've kind of looked at a lot of different projects, completed a lot of different projects. This past year, we did plan, design, construct, and look at a significant number of different kinds of CIP projects that come from all kinds of different funding sources. So, you know, we looked at 5 different regional Measure R funded transportation-related capital projects. And so we completed construction of a right turn lane project at northbound PCH at Torrance Boulevard. We're also currently looking at southbound PCH at Torrance Boulevard. I believe that's under, it's with Caltrans right now with design review. We looked at, I believe we're currently working on a project for Aviation Boulevard, excuse me, Aviation Boulevard at Artesia Boulevard. We have a full-blown conceptual design that's done, and you know we're kind of working with the property owner in regards to that project. Won't go into that much more detail on that. We're also looking at Inglewood Avenue and Manhattan Beach Boulevard, which is one of the projects that I'm going to be briefly discussing. But as you can tell, there's a lot of different kinds of roadway projects that we work on. But along with that, you know, we've also completed Flagler Lane resurfacing project, which was, you know, from 190th Street to Barrows. And then there was a project, So there was Flagler Lane resurfacing from 190th to Barrow Street. And then there was Inglewood Avenue, Grant Avenue to 190th resurfacing project. We had a Prospect Avenue resurfacing project. We had a citywide curb ramp improvements project. And then, you know, we also worked on the Palos Verdes Boulevard median renovations project. So as you can tell, there's a lot of mostly roadway related projects, but a lot of projects dealing with either rehabilitation or, essentially enhancing a lot of infrastructure type projects. So for tonight's presentation, I'm going to be looking or briefly describing, if you will, some key projects that are currently underway in our city. And as you can tell by this bullet list, we have, the pier parking structure repairs, North Redondo Beach Bikeway. We're looking at city council chamber improvements, project, and then some slurry seal and resurfacing projects. I'm going to kind of go through each one a little bit one by one. So the first project we have here is a CIP project number 9. And if you're following along with the attachment that was with the original AR, the administrative report, as part of the first administrative report, the numbers coincide with the project descriptions that's part of the attachment. So there's a lot of additional information that I may not be talking about here, but you should be able to find some of that information that you're looking for within the attachment that's provided. So this project, just very simply, the purpose of the project was to repair joints, leaks, damaged floors, structural members that were either potentially set to have issues or foreseen to have issues in the future within the pier parking structure. And this project actually, as of August of this year, has been completed. So a lot of the elements that are stated here, as well as the attachment, have all been completed. But more so beyond that, this is an ongoing project. So for every 2 years, there's going to be additional pier parking structure-related repairs that are going to be occurring throughout our pier parking area. Next project we have is the North Redondo Beach Bikeway project. The purpose of this project is kind of twofold. The first portion of it was to kind of include permeable pavements along the SC right-of-way, parcels north and south of Artesia Boulevard. There's a portion of it that includes a lighted parking lot. And then the main, I guess, depends on how you define main, but the latter portion of this project is basically an extension of the bike path from where it is currently terminated at Felton all the way to Inglewood Avenue. So the portions of this project, basically excluding the extension from Felton to Inglewood, are all completed as of October of this year. So most recently got completed, while the bike path extension plans are currently under review by city staff. So I have a few pictures here that kind of show the extent of what we've done so far. So on the left, we have before, standard bike path, pedestrian path, and then to the right, we have the after picture, which kind of shows the widening, if you will, and the additional landscaping. This photo here is actually shown of the lighted parking lot. So on the left, we can see this open space, greenery, and then on the right, on the after picture, we see that parking lot that's got installed. Actually, there's some really good feedback from residents, general users of the bike path. They like it, they're using it. Every now and again, when I drive through the area in Artesia, I see that it is at least at around 25, 33% capacity. And so there are users that are using it, and they seem to like the fact that there's parking available along Artesia. The skate parks project. This is just plain and simple. As one of the projects that we're currently working on is to design and construct skate parks within the city. Currently, we've supplemented the earlier analysis. There were 5 proposed sites within the city to look at potential locations for a skate park. As part of that, we've amended that study to include parcel pad 10 on the pier, which is where that octagonal building is. Currently, we're trying to seek public input through the Harbor Commission as well as District 2 meetings. However, council still remains largely undecided on the location or the final locations of the skate park or the scale of the actual skate parks. Project 27, Comprehensive City Identity Program and Civic Center signage. This should be something that looks a little bit familiar. We saw this at our last meeting. This is part of, I guess, different elements associated with the project, but the sign and the signal portion was kind of more on the engineering side, where city staff and part of the project scopes prepare a citywide identity program for use in all different types of city marketing and communications and signage throughout the city. And as part of that, it of course included the new entry sign and banner as you're entering the city. So this was a project that our staff had presented to the Public Works Commission at the last commission meeting in regards to the banner sign located on 190th Street, basically west of Anza as you're entering the city. As it stands, I believe the plans and specs were approved by the City Council at the last meeting, so last Tuesday's meeting. So now we're getting ready to put this project out to bid. Project 35, City Council Chamber Improvements. It's kind of interesting how this came at a time where we're not able to use the council chamber. So little interesting, but the point of this, or the scope of this project, if you will, is to upgrade and repair the audio video infrastructure. There's ADA enhancements that we're trying to put in, additional furniture and finishes. It's a lot of, I guess the best way that I can describe it is more future technology, if you will. So one of the alternatives I believe include screens that are kind of touch screens that are embedded into the desk, so not opening and closing monitors, and that's how commissioners are able to look at agendas without having paper agendas and things of that nature. This project, if you've been to City Hall recently, you'll notice that council chambers is completely fenced off. So this project is currently underway, and the anticipated completion date is April of next year. Transit Center project. The scope of this project, of course, is to relocate and construct the existing transit center northerly on Kingston Avenue to its future location. The work is currently underway. All city work currently, I believe, is still mostly on site, but the anticipation is that once we kind of move forward and as more progress is gained, the construction-related impacts, there will be some construction-related traffic impacts in the near future, but it's essentially relocating the transit center location from its current location to its future location along Kingsdale Avenue. Citywide slurry seal program. So just in case we're not familiar, of course, slurry seal is one of the methods that are used to repair roadways. I believe the way that we came up with the slurry seal versus a complete resurface, which is what we're going to talk about, is largely based on our pavement management system and the survey that we've done. So the slurry seal provides kind of an extra coat, if you will, above the existing surface for typical use on asphalt that generally is somewhat still structurally sound, but just adding an extra coat to kind of extend the life of the existing asphalt that's in the field. Phase 1 of the program is complete. Phase 2 through 4 that was identified by the City Council on September 2020 of this year is currently underway. And it's a little bit hard to see, but the way that this map is drawn out, it's color-coded to show basically what streets are expected for slurry seal and then what streets are expected for residential rehab and complete resurfacing. And I'll get to the resurfacing portion. I believe it's project 66, I believe, but it's coming up. It's essentially the same map, the same thing, except it's a differentiation between slurry seal treated roadways and then future resurfacing roadways. Just quickly what slurry seal can look like. This is basically kind of the same segment of roadway on the left. We show Gates Avenue on the right. We show following the slurry seal. So you can kind of see a difference in, protection, if you will, due to the slurry seal that's provided over the roadway. Project 54, Inglewood Boulevard at MBB, southbound right turn lane project. The scope of this project is to install and construct a dedicated southbound right turn lane at the southbound intersection of Inglewood Avenue at Manhattan Beach Boulevard to accommodate some of the traffic operations concerns and, of course, in turn, hopefully potentially enhance some of the traffic safety at this intersection. The plans are currently 95% complete, so we've been looking at signal modifications as a result of this intersection. A lot of different roadway changes. It's coordination between our city and Lawndale, and so there's a lot of coordination that's involved as part of this project. But we're at 95% plans. We're nearing 100%. I believe we sent the last batch of 95% comments to the design consultant, and we're waiting for them to update our design plans. Project 63, very similar to before. Instead of slurry seal, these are the roadways that are set to undergo full resurfacing and repair of the residential streets. So essentially, depending, the pavement structure is going to all change as a result of this project, as opposed to slurry seal is just laying on a coat. For this project, based on whatever the pavement management survey calculates should be the appropriate depth or whatever the deficiency is, or to whichever level of our pavement grade should be. This is a complete restructuring, if you will. And I believe the last project on this list is a Torrance Boulevard resurfacing project from PCH to Prospect Avenue. The scope of this project is to resurface Torrance Boulevard between PCH to Prospect. So as part of that resurfacing, we'll be upgrading any ADA curb ramps to current standards. We'll be looking at possible enhancements of bike facilities and, of course, enhancement of traffic signal equipment at the intersection of Torrance Boulevard and Francisca Street. Currently, the design for this is about at 30% complete, so we have a concept and a general idea of the direction that we're looking for the resurfacing, with final design anticipated sometime towards the beginning of next year. So my recommendation provided to the Public Works Commission is to receive and file the capital improvement project status updates. That concludes my presentation, and I do have Ted Zaman, Public Works Director, and Andy Wingy, City Engineer, who are here to answer any questions specifically that I cannot answer.
Hey, Gene, I'd like to add one more skate park item.
Yes.
The City Council this last Tuesday, and the council did give direction to staff to move forward with a design build concept for both Pad 10 and Perry Park.
Perry Park, okay.
I have a.
Sheriff Funabashi, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so thank you, Gene, for that presentation. In a moment, I'll be seeking a motion to approve, to receive and file, but I wanted to give each commissioner an opportunity for questions or comments to staff at this point. And so I thought I would just go down each list of our commissioners and give each of you an opportunity to ask questions as you see fit. So if I may, I'll just start off with Commissioner Glass.
No questions.
Hey, is Commissioner Garcia, are you able to?
He's unmuted. I just got a message that his phone won't unmute.
Okay. Commissioner Hannon.
Yeah, I had a question, on, CIP 66 on Torrance Boulevard, saying the design is about 30% complete right now. Will that come back to, Public Works once it's completed and we get a chance to look at it?
I'll take that one, Gene. Our intent, Commissioner Herron, is to bring a conceptual design back to the city council to get them to look at a couple of options regarding bike lanes and other things that we've been talking about on that strip of road there. So we had not intended to come back to Public Works Commission, but directly to
One of the things too that, I was kind of hoping that we would, I know the design work you're doing right now terminates at PCH, but then we've got between PCH and Catalina, and we know that's turning into a four-way stop, I believe, at Broadway. So there's an opportunity there to do some, it seems like if we're going to reslurry it or repave it, resurface it, it seems like it would be, we'd do the whole thing at one time, but I guess you guys know,
Our project limit for this was just to PCH, there's higher traffic on the east side of PCH than the west side. But we did, it just to your point, Gene and I were actually talking about today, when we do Broadway and Torrance Boulevard, we need the striping contractor to be out to grind out some of the thermoplastic that we have out there. And we were talking about trying to find some funding to get them to do striping of at least the bike lanes in that section, the class 3, whatever the designation, I don't recall, for that location. So it doesn't pop up yet on our pavement management for resurfacing need in those two blocks, but we are trying to accelerate the bike facility installation out there as we can afford it.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Commissioner Garcia?
You can hear me?
I can hear, I believe I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. I can't get on.
You know what? And I
think it's on your side, but anyways, yeah, I was just checking to see on Torrance Boulevard if you'll straighten out that, it seems like a lot of people use that left turn lane to get into the left turn at PCH lane. It's kind of like an extension, but people that actually want to make a left on Francisco can't do that, westbound. Did you get that?
I heard you. I'm not sure I followed you. I will tell you that we do have a signal project at PCH in Torrance Boulevard in Francisco in the works. We're going to upgrade that signal to a current standard. I don't think we have a left turn lane modification there.
Commissioner Garcia.
Yeah, a lot of people use that left turn lane.
Are you
a lot of people use that left turn lane to go straight as another, an extension towards PCH to make a left. And so a lot of times they when the queue gets too long, people that want to make a left onto Francisco can't do that. Did you get that?
Well, I heard you, but again, I don't think I follow you. The receiving
a lot of people, because a lot of people make a left-hand turn on PCH, and they use that queuing lane on Francisco to kind of queue up there because a lot of people get into that left turn lane to Francisco to use as going straight, and so they kind of block people making a left-hand turn onto Francisco.
That would seem to be improper use of the lane there. I'm not sure if we can engineer.
Yeah, well, the reason why is it's kind of offset. A lot of people see it as like, basically, in order to make a left at PCH, they get into that left turn lane at Francisco to go straight into that other lane.
Commissioner Garcia, this is Ted. I think we need to talk offline about that. I'm not seeing it. I just pulled up the aerial to try to visualize what you're referring to, and I'm not quite seeing that. So we can talk offline just to understand what the concern is that you're observing.
Oh, okay, yeah, I mentioned it before. It's just when you're going westbound, a lot of people, instead of making a left at Francisco, they use that left turn lane to go straight. And sometimes when it gets queued back, a lot of people can't make a left on Francisco.
Okay. I think I get what you're saying. Okay. I think to Ted's point, we can probably definitely talk about it offline. Just my experience from almost driving through here every morning. I haven't seen that, but it's definitely something that we can definitely look into to figure out what the real concern is. I think further though, with the installation of a traffic signal, that does kind of preempt drivers to not be able to have that kind of behavior. But we can definitely take a look at it and talk about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a crooked intersection because when you're driving in the number one lane, it feels normal to be like cutting across that intersection, and you'll be in the left turn lane for PCH. Anyways, it just seems like a lot of people will get mixed up on which lane they're supposed to be in when they go across the intersection. Okay, that's all.
Okay. Commissioner Min, did you have any comments or questions from the presentation?
Yeah, so I had a couple quick questions. The project at Inglewood and Manhattan Beach, is that grant funded? Or
Yes.
how?
It's Measure our regional project.
Okay. And if I recall, this was maybe a couple of years ago, that there was a right-of-way issue with the lumberyard there. Has all that been resolved?
Right-of-way issue with what? I'm sorry?
Isn't there like a lumberyard, like at that intersection that was taking us a right-of-way that you guys needed? Has that?
Yeah, that's all in Lawndale. We don't really have any jurisdiction there, and we won't be taking any real estate side. We've already been granted an easement from the gas station property there on the west side, and then we are in the process of purchasing a small sliver that's owned by the surrounding shopping center around the gas station. I think it's less than 1,000 square feet. It's not very big, but it's been a hard time coming to get an agreement done, but we're on a process on that. So, as soon as that's secured, we should be able to wrap up our design and be out to bid with this. I would say early spring next year at the latest.
Okay, great. Actually, a lot of your presentation hit on kind of one of my requests from the last meeting about the pavement management program. And I did take a look at the council file from September 15th, and it was a very interesting report. I noticed that City Council wants you guys to get to a PCI of 75 by 2027, which is, I think is extremely ambitious. But one thing I didn't read through the file super closely, but what's your estimated budget to actually achieve that PCI?
It's on the order of $4.5 million a year among all roadway surfacing projects.
Okay, so that's over, I guess, next 7 years. So that would be, we're at 4 times 7.
Yeah, so the decision was made in 2018 as a result of the 2017 survey that council wanted to. Several scenarios were provided back then, and the one that they selected was to raise from PCI of 69 or 70 to 75 within that 10-year time frame.
Right.
We've completed 2 years of that as we speak, and we've got the next 3 years worth of streets identified. Well, most of the next 3 years of streets identified to continue on that path. So that was the plan that they've selected, and so far, we've done a good job budgeting that way. the year that is 2020 that we will all remember for a long time impacted a lot of our budget forecasting. So we've kind of we've sandbagged a little bit on project expectations in this next 3-year residential rehab cycle. But the outside funding that we get for arterial, that also contributes toward moving the pavement index up, is so far hasn't been, we haven't received any word that we're going to be reduced there. So we're still watching that one. But yeah, obviously it's all subject to the economics of, the various tax and grant revenues that we receive.
Yeah, of course. So just out of curiosity, what's your design specification for resurfacing? Is it 10 years or 20 years? What are you guys designing?
Resurfacing is usually a 20-year. Slurry, we think 5 to 7.
Okay. Great. Yeah, like I mentioned last time, I've noticed some streets being done in my neighborhood, and a lot of my neighbors and folks I know in the city have been asking, hey, when's my street coming next? And so I thank you for that report. It has all the maps on there, so I can just link it directly to them, and they can take a look.
Yeah, that's always the big fight, as it turns out, is my street on there? And the council members are very interested in identifying what those streets will be. This last time we did it, we had a book of 10 years worth of streets, but we changed our approach, trying to take it 3 years at a time, because that's the period that we need to reevaluate our pavement index to qualify for other funding. So every 3 years we'll do that. We'll come up with a list of streets, at least under this current cycle, and propose those to the council and let them sometimes approve, sometimes horse trade and then approve, and eventually we'll get it all done. There are some streets, and they're probably the ones what people wonder why we don't do, because they're the worst, and we're deliberately not doing those, because for every $100,000 we throw at those, and maybe get a block done because they require a full reconstruction, we can get 10 blocks done doing some other kind of treatment. So we are really trying to maximize surface area touched to get that PMI up to 75. And once done, or maybe we will begin before the 10 years is up, we'll start working on our streets that require a full rebuild from the base up. So.
Okay.
We make council aware of that's so far one of the knobs we haven't turned yet, something we will need to address. First priority was keeping our good streets good, so they don't fall into a category that requires a full rebuild. Okay.
Yeah. I noticed that on your presentation too from the council meeting. I was at some point we're going to have to do them, right? But
absolutely,
they're extremely expensive.
And I think the projection is with this last the full PMS study report will be ready for the council in November, probably as a receive and file, because picking the streets was their big concern, and that's already been done. But very bad condition. So not in terms of lane miles, not very much, but certainly noticeable as compared to all the good streets that we're surrounded by. So.
Okay. Well, that's great. And my final question, just out of curiosity, who was your contractor who did the pavement survey?
NCE.
NCE. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. I'll now give the floor to Commissioner Bajaj. If you have any questions or comments from the presentation, it's all yours.
I have a couple of quick. Thank you, Gene, for the report. For Artesia and Inglewood and Manhattan Beach Boulevard, the southbound dedicated right turn. So is the intention there then to create 3 through southbound lanes of traffic? Be a southbound dual right turn.
I think it's still 2.
Yes. It will be 3 throughs and 1 dedicated right.
Thank you, Ted. Yeah.
Just enhance the capacity of throughput through the intersection for southbound through?
Yeah, we looked at that second, I don't call it a second right turn lane, but we even thought about a dual right through combo to try to help the south to westbound right turn movement. It actually didn't help the LOS at the intersection. It started to create some delays for the through movements, and both are super heavy.
Right.
So us to have, with the receiving lanes on the south leg of the intersection,
Right.
to maintain the 3 throughs and then the 1 dedicated break.
Great. And then my other question was, Gene, you said with the transit center, the construction that's going to happen on the transit center, you mentioned it was the transit center was going to be constructed and relocated northerly, but it looked like the future location is south of the existing location.
Correct. I misspoke. I meant to say from the northerly location to the south.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's underway. It's just south of the Target store.
Yeah.
And you'll see, if you go to the area, you'll see excavation coming out of there the next few weeks.
What's the intended completion date?
I think the contract days should be done. There's 2 phases. There's getting the new transit center up and running, which we anticipate sometime in late spring, maybe early summer. And then after that, we're going to demo the old transit center and then widen those 2 lanes, the northbound lanes of Kingsdale between Artesia and Grant. That's supposed to be done before, we're supposed to be done working before the holiday season next year.
Right on. Well, thank you very much. Some exciting projects coming up.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I just had one question as it relates to the transit center as well. As many of you know, there was a big discussion at the council meeting last week about the homeless pallet home type project that is going to be constructed on Kingsdale. For me, the Verizon lot where these pallet homes are supposed to go on a trial basis, the same property as the transit center, or is it right next door to it?
Yeah, just next door. If you're familiar with that area, there's where the Goodwill station used to be there. That's kind of the lower lot that will become kind of what we're calling our kiss and ride lot at the transit center. Just to the south of that, there's a driveway that goes up 10 feet or so to another elevated level that's parking, designated as parking for the new transit center. And in between the kiss and ride lot and the driveway, there's a small 40,000 square foot lot that the city owns. We currently use it for staging of contractors and storage of materials and things. And so half of that lot is going to be used for this temporary location for these pallet homes. So yeah, Ted has probably more detail on that than I do, but yeah, that's the location. It's adjacent, it's a different parcel, and it's not part of the transit center build out.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
You got the right area. It is the dirt lot, basically, that's the dirt area that's nestled in front of the transit center. And I'll say it's proposed because on November the 10th, we're supposed to be bringing an item forward for the city council to discuss a funding agreement with Los Angeles County to try to help that interim pallet housing project site.
All right. Thank you very much. Before, again, I entertain that motion, I did want to ask of Ms. Kronberger if there was anyone from the public, if we have any submitted email comments or anyone else who's waiting to speak from the public.
We do not, sir, have any e-comments submitted. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think you called on me, Commissioner Simpson.
Commissioner Simpson, forgive me. Yes, then let me give you the floor.
I just, my question would be about the transit center. First, I would say it was a very thorough and enlightening report, and I commend staff for giving it. My only question is, what is the status now of the metro line extension? Is it actually going to match up with the transit center, or do we know that yet? Where is it going to be routed?
That's still unknown, Commissioner Simpson. Metro is in the initial stages of their environmental document for it. And that may be 2+ years before they're ready to bring that out to the public.
They've identified 2 routes. They made increase, I don't know, but the two routes are the existing railroad right-of-way that runs to the west side of the transit center, and then a second route that would come down Hawthorne, more or less in the middle of Hawthorne between the lanes, between the north and southbound lanes. And so that would be a quarter mile maybe from the transit center location. Obviously, one of those makes more sense to me than the other, but that's why they do the study. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. And Chair Funabashi, if you don't mind, I know this group typically gets locked into traffic-related issues. We do a lot of exploration of requests and various traffic changes, traffic calming measures, et cetera. But we do have other types of projects in the city, just to whet your appetite for perhaps more questions in the future. The list, we have about 75 projects that we track. Typically, we usually finish about 15 every year, get about 15 new ones every year. So it's kind of a more or less a 5-year cycle, except for some of our really special projects, like the transit center, which go for decades, it seems. So we currently have a dredging project in the harbor that's in the public noticing stage with the Army Corps of Engineers. When we get through, hopefully we'll be through the permitting process for that, and we'll be doing a dredging project after next summer season, so sometime in the fall of 2021. Assuming we'll get through all the wickets. Dredging projects are difficult because of what to do with the spoils. We have a project to replace the Harbor Patrol docks, which are adjacent to Fire Station 3 off of Mole B in the harbor area. That's a project we're all looking forward to. Those docks are in great need of replacement, and they're not configured in a way that's very favorable to the emergency operations that are there. So we're going to be making some modifications in the layout there. An exciting project. We do have some grant money coming for that one to help us with some of the features of that project. We're also going to be moving. We have 2 vessel pump out stations there, sewage pump out stations in that area, one on the outside that inner break wall and one on the inside. We're going to be moving the one on the inside to the outside. So we'll have 2 of them on the outside just to separate that public activity from the Harbor Patrol dock activity. And that will create actually, I think it's 100-foot. It can accommodate a 100-foot vessel if we ever had one against those for a sewage pump out, which is a nice, if you're a boater, if you're a yachter, I guess that might be a nice thing to know that you could stop there and pump out there if needed. So those are some big projects we have coming up in the harbor. Of course, there's a lot of other things we're talking about in the harbor area. We also have park projects coming up, some changes to Dominguez Park, enhancements to the playground structure that's there, and some of the walkways and landscaped areas that are up there. We've talked about the North Redondo Beach Bikeway and the skate parks. Commissioner Hanna will be thrilled to know that we're moving forward with our EV charging station project. So those are coming sooner than later, but later than we'd hoped. So those are moving forward as well. Those have taken a little circuitous route to get through our process on that one. Grant Avenue is a traffic signal improvement project we have coming up sometime in 2021. Back to the harbor, we're replacing railings out there, either replacing or resurfacing the teal colored railings that are all around the harbor. We have some that are in pretty bad shape and some that are in really bad shape. So we're getting all those replaced or recoated, as well as changing out the light fixtures that are around the pier with some new LED type lights. And the sails, we think we brought the sails item that's in several of your backgrounds right now as I look at the screen. Brought that to you several months ago about whether or not to include art in that, whether to replace them in kind. That conversation moved up to the city council sometime around budget season, and it was just a straight replace in kind. So we've taken all the bells and whistles off that project. That'll just be a replacement in kind when we get to it. But still, it will refresh, and we're going to add some lighting to help those sails pop a little bit at night to enhance the appearance down there on the pier. So lots of good stuff going on, and welcome any questions about all of the rest of it, or later by email if you make your way through the 76 project list we have there. Not all of the details in there are entirely current. We use that as a working document that we review every month, and a lot of oral conversation about status of projects doesn't always make it to the notes. But we've got a lot of good stuff going on in our CIP.
All right. Well, thank you, Andy. Do any of the commissioners have any additional questions before I seek that motion? Okay, then seeing none, I will make a motion to receive and file the presentation.
Chairman Abashi, I had a quick question. Just real quick, to seek clarification for something that Ted said earlier. The locations of the skate parks have been approved now to be at the pier in the Octagon and at Perry Park. Is that correct? It's approved?
Yes, we've been directed by the city council to move forward on a design build process for both of those locations.
Okay, wonderful.
However, that doesn't exclude an earlier direction by the council to consider exploring and development of concepts for some of the bigger parks.
Okay.
This was kind of the first step. Let's get something in. Let's create a home. Let's enable the skating community to start fundraising, et cetera, do what they need to do. And I think the Anderson Park and Franklin Park are still locations that the council wants us to continue to develop ideas and concepts and public outreach and that kind of thing.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then do we have a motion to receive and file?
Second.
Okay, I heard a second from Commissioner
I thought
Glass.
I
Who
made the motion to
the actual
receive and
motion?
file, but I saw that I was muted after I finished talking, so.
Okay, so then do we have a first to receive and file by Commissioner Simpson and a second by Commissioner Glass?
Yes.
Okay, I will call each of you for your response. Commissioner Bajaj?
Yes.
Commissioner Glass?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Hannon?
Yes.
Commissioner Min?
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
And I'm an aye, so that is unanimous. Thank you. So now we'll move to item J2 on the agenda, Public Works Commission approved projects. It's a status update where at the end I'll seek a receive and file motion as well. So I'll hand it back to staff.
Thank you, Chair Funabashi. Is everyone able to see my screen right now? All right.
I believe it's being shared.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
No, it's not on.
Is not
Not
being
yet.
shared.
Yeah.
Oh. What is going on?
Here you are.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry about that. That was a little odd. Okay. Let me go ahead. Move forward. All right. So my second presentation tonight, Sheriff Funabashi has mentioned, is the Public Works Commission's project status quarterly update. So typically we've done these quarterly updates as part of the Public Works Commission's request, just to see not just the status of projects that were forwarded to the City Council, also to see what the Council's decision was relative to what the Commission's decision was. And so I've kind of gone through, and we have a list that I kind of put together as you can tell, the last commission meeting in September, those items have not been updated yet, but the meeting prior to that was our meeting in February. And so I have the February projects listed here. And I will briefly touch upon at least, okay, yeah. So I'm going to touch upon kind of what the projects were, what the previous decision was from the Public Works Commission, and then ultimately when we took it to City Council, what the council's decision was. So if you see here, kind of going in reverse order from bottom to top, the Adams Middle School left turn restriction and loading zone. If you recall, this was a project that was brought forth to the commission in regards to consideration for a left turn restriction entering into one of the parking lot driveways. Now this determination, if you will, or at least staff's recommendation for the commission's consideration was brought forth in conjunction with discussions with the Beach Cities Health District and Adams Middle School, the principal of Adams Middle School, because there were certain circulation-related issues for Adams Middle School, especially on Ripley Avenue, as vehicles were traveling southwest to enter into the site. There was just a lot of vehicles impeding the roadway. There was just mass confusion, hysteria. And so the principal's request was to see the feasibility of a left turn restriction and, of course, an additional loading zone for parking. Now, when we first brought this to the commission had directed staff prior to moving forward to the city council to reach out and canvass the residents and relocate the loading zone to a location that wasn't directly adjacent or at least in front of residences, but more so easterly on Ripley Avenue at Adams Middle School, kind of away from the residents, more on the school side. And so staff went out, spoke with the residents, and talked about the left turn restriction and the loading zone changes. And I believe as of today, the left turn restriction has been in place, and the loading zone isn't in yet. I believe it's in the Public Works staff's queue. So this project is, the council agreed and concurred with the Public Works Commission recommendations. And if the implementation hasn't already been done, it's slated to get done soon. The next two items we have the Beryl Street corridor traffic calming and then the Dow Avenue and Johnson Avenue neighborhood traffic safety enhancements. I'll do the Dow Avenue and Johnson first. If you recall, it was that whole neighborhood within District 5 where Dow and Johnson kind of come together. You'll notice if you look at the map for District 5, at least the northern tip of the city, there's a square neighborhood area where you get two roads that kind of beeline, and then you have Dow and Johnson. They kind of create this V shape. And that entire neighborhood area, staff took a look at that area for some traffic safety enhancements, especially looking at traffic calming elements, looking at ways to enhance pedestrian enhancements and things of that nature. And that project actually, following the commission's decision, the council was on board and council authorized staff to move forward with the Public Works Commission recommendations. Now that project also includes looking at the signal on Manhattan Beach and Dow, which we're doing as part of the Manhattan Beach Boulevard resurfacing project. The second item here, Beryl Street corridor traffic calming enhancements. Staff looked at traffic calming enhancements for the corridor of Beryl Street from Catalina all the way up to Prospect. The commission's recommendation, actually staff's recommendation, we had looked into radar feedback signs, bike lane, traffic circle implementation, and ultimately the commission's decision was east of PCH. So on Beryl Street between PCH and Prospect, bike lanes were okay, radar feedback signs were okay, but no traffic circles, while west of PCH, traffic circles at two intersections, I believe at Broadway and the other intersection that's escaping me right now. And there were some pedestrian enhancements that that the commission wanted to forward for the intersection near the shopping center on the backside near Beryl Street. When staff presented this to the commission, the council's direction, the council approved all of the commission's recommendations, but in addition to those recommendations, the council also wanted an installation of an always stop control at the intersection of Beryl and Irena. And so the council authorized city staff to move forward with basically all the recommendations as per the Public Works Commission, but to also include the installation of an always stop at Beryl and Irena. And so as of today, Beryl and Irena does have an always stop. The remaining elements for that corridor, which include the bike lanes, some of the traffic circles, and radar feedback sign purchase, they're currently under design. The last item or the topmost item we have here is the Torrance Boulevard and Broadway traffic control enhancements. If you recall, staff presented this to the commission earlier this year in regards to alternatives for the intersection of Torrance Boulevard and Broadway. Now, there are many alternatives that were provided. Staff provided an alternative for a roundabout, a full-blown traffic signal upgrade, always stop control intersection, bulb outs only, and a exclusive right northbound, southbound, right turn only movement. Now, the commission's direction for staff was to take the recommendation of the northbound, southbound, right turn only, as the commission saw that the collisions and the conflicts were occurring for vehicles that were traveling northbound, southbound on Broadway and entering onto Torrance Boulevard or crossing Torrance Boulevard. And so with the elimination of these two movements, I believe it was 13 out of the 14 collisions would have been addressed for the intersection. Staff presented this to the City Council. The City Council's decision, however, deferred from the Commission's decision. The City Council requested that staff install an always stop at the intersection with flashing LEDs, and on top of that, to also install temporary bulb outs for a 6-month evaluation to kind of enhance and reduce the enhance pedestrian safety and reduce the pedestrian crossing distance. And so that's been the latest recommendation or approval by the City Council. And currently, a lot of the concept design and I believe the parts are mostly all purchased. We're just trying to schedule this work to be completed at this location. But of course, those are just some of the recent projects. I guess the more recent projects that I really wanted to talk about today were actually and that's the installation of the traffic circles along the Fermona corridor, and then the installation of traffic circle at Ruby and Gertruda. And so sometime towards the end of last year, I believe it was September, October of last year, per the commission's approval and direction, staff went ahead and installed temporary traffic circles for a 6-month evaluation at the two locations, Ruby Gertruda, as I said before, and then Fermona Avenue, which I believe were Armour, Spreckles, and Fisk. And so staff went ahead, we installed the traffic circles, we did a speed evaluation, we did a full-blown survey. Ultimately, all of that kind of was put together and was presented to the City Council, I want to say in July of this year. It might have been July 21st, I think. And Council's direction to staff, following the evaluation and the results, was basically to revert or convert all those intersections to always stop. Converted Ruby Gertruda to an always stop intersection, and then every intersection along the traffic circle corridor as always stop control intersection. So currently, in its current state, there you go. So the Ruby Gertruda intersection, so we have the before, this is basically, it's shortly after the traffic circle was installed, and then now to the right, we have after in its current state, which is an always stop controlled intersection. And then for some reason, I couldn't track any previous photos of Fermona corridor when the traffic circles were in. But this was literally taken earlier today, where it may be a little difficult to see, but basically this is the first intersection as you're on Fermona from 190th. It's 3 consecutive just always stop intersections. And so they've all been kind of converted to always stop intersections. So that's generally more of the more recent projects that were taken to the City Council. I know it doesn't seem like it's a lot, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that due to COVID-19, a lot of our assessments and speed surveys are taking a little bit longer, number one, but the assessment, we're trying to take a little bit more time in doing the assessment, mainly because times are different, right? We're recognizing and we see that volumes, in certain locations, volumes have decreased significantly. Certain locations, speeds may have gone up a little bit. And so we're really trying to navigate through that. And so there's not as many public works or at least traffic safety or traffic calming related projects, but rest assured, we have done a lot of other projects, at least we have done a lot of projects that were kind of in our queue. We've done a Catalina Avenue corridor study. We've done some alleyway studies. We've done some prospect alleyway studies and some other more holistic approach type larger scale projects. And so those require a little bit more public outreach. And so once we kind of get that public outreach kind of figured out and reaching out to the council members and the council districts for the district meetings, we'll be bringing a lot more of those larger projects in the coming meetings. So my recommendation to the commission tonight for my second item is to receive and file the Public Works Commission project status updates. That concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Gene, for that presentation. What I'll do now is each of you probably know that in your upper right-hand corner where mine says more, there's an opportunity for you to raise your hands. So if there's any questions or comments, maybe we can do it that way this time.
Mine doesn't have one of those hands.
Okay, you know what? Scratch that idea. Let's just cut to the chase. Commissioner Glass, I'll give you the floor, and I'll go through giving each commissioner an
I'm going to
opportunity.
be quiet today.
No questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay, then I will hand it over to Commissioner Garcia.
Yeah, I don't have any comments. Yeah, it looks good. Seems like they've done a lot at the council. So, anyways, that's all.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Bajaj, any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you. Gene, did in your post analysis with the traffic circles in, was there a measurable reduction in speed?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, is that data public, or is that something like I could take a look at just sort of out of my own curiosity, not related to this specific topic, but?
Yeah, that was provided as part of the administrative report attachments for that July meeting. I don't remember which July meeting it was, but I can get that date for you to help you track that down.
Right, and the reason I ask is because I know that Redondo is not the first city to remove traffic circles. You know, I've heard of this in a couple of other jurisdictions recently, and so I was just curious to see what your data yielded.
Yep.
All right, thank you. I have no other comments, Chair Funabashi.
Thank you. Commissioner Min?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to follow up on Commissioner Bajaj's question. So if there was a measurable reduction in speeds, and the council, obviously voted to remove the traffic circles, I assume it's because of the community not wanting them. Is that the main reason, or is there some other reason why they voted to remove them?
Yes.
Question, it might be loaded.
That probably is the shortest answer I can give is yes. There was ample data showing diversion of volumes, a reduction in volumes, reduction in speeds. But in my report, I really tried to capture like what we're trying to do here is to reduce those speeds, right, as part of the traffic circles for traffic calming, and that was the main focus. The survey, however, showed something a little bit different, especially in the comments. The survey, if you will, I had a comment section where residents were kind of putting together all their comments and how they felt about certain things. And, it's regardless of kind of what the overall validity of the comments were, it did come through that more of the residents did not want the traffic circles than wanted.
Okay, understood. And then lastly, on the Barrel Street corridor traffic calming project, I remember that meeting distinctly because there were just so many people that came out and spoke about that particular project. So I noticed the stop sign at Barrel and Irina, installed many months ago, which was, I think, actually made a big difference in speeds. You just cannot speed down the hill; you have to stop now, right? So I'm kind of curious about how the speed feedback radar signs in the bike lanes will additionally impact the speeds, in a positive way. So when do you think those will be going in? Just soon, I assume?
Yeah, so the design, we're nearing the completion of the design. And then for the radar feedback signs, I'm currently in the process with working with our finance department to kind of put together a co-op type agreement and trying to expedite and efficiently, purchase these radar feedback signs, kind of exercising some, fiscal and fiduciary responsibility, if you will.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll add a little bit to that. Our purchasing process here in the city is required to be competitive and transparent and all those kinds of things. And so we can't just run and buy stuff off the shelf in many cases. So our process with this, when we go through a cooperative agreement, it's already been kind of gone through the bidding process, and we're able to get pricing that's been agreed to by other government agencies through that kind of a process. So it takes us a while to get into that, but when we do, then it saves us time in the long run for those kind of purchases. And just to answer the question, August 18th was the date of the meeting where we looked at the Fermona circles and the Ruby Gertruda. And I pulled up the report for Fermona traffic speeds. 85th percentile speeds dropped from 25 to 19 in one case, 29 to 20 in another case. And volumes were also down. The pre-COVID volumes were also down by 50% as well. So it did its job, did exactly what we said it would do, but they just preferred not to deal with the newness of a roundabout, I guess.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. I guess we're just not there yet as a community. But yeah, thanks for the update and the information. That's all I have, Chair Funabashi.
Thank you. Commissioner Simpson.
Just excellent update. Really appreciate it. I guess the thing we learned from this is that we're just not going to be able to. Traffic circles do what they're supposed to do very effectively, and then nobody wants them. I mean, perhaps everyone should go drive in Ireland for a year, where they're everywhere.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We do find them very effective and would obviously love to benefit from their use in lots of places. We're kind of 0 for 5 on these, and so we're done highlighting them as a traffic calming measure for a little while, and we're going to invest our energy other places. So
makes sense.
Commissioner Hannan.
Well, it was an excellent report. Thank you, Gene, and thank you, Andy. It's disappointing to me because, traveling in Ireland for a couple of months, I fell in love with them myself. But when you look at the data, I mean, it clearly shows they got the desired results, which was to calm traffic down. From a safety standpoint, I mean, they're far safer than a four-way stop. They certainly emit less fumes and gas, and I mean, you could go on and on about it. But with the advantages over a four-way stop, but I don't know if we really didn't educate people enough. We didn't market it enough. We didn't, I think all the feedback I got from my small sample, I grant you, I mean, just the people I know, but they were saying aesthetically it wasn't pleasing, it wasn't something that they were proud of to have in their neighborhood. And at the same time, I ride my bike a lot, I go to Long Beach, they seem to be in love with them up there. I go up to Culver City, they seem to be in love with them up there. So something's wrong here. I mean, everybody, I know that, I'm grateful that we have such a good system that we listen to everybody and we consider everybody's input and where they live and what they want. But in this case, I just think that we fell short on really doing a better job marketing them and educating them. I've seen some of the literature that came out of Long Beach and Culver City both, and they were really educational literature that came out months before they put the roundabout in. But anyway, I think it was a yeoman's try. I appreciate it. Well,
I mean, if there's a lesson learned, maybe we just shoot first and ask questions later. we put them in as they're supposed to be, a permanent structure, decorate them, plant them, make them look good, and then the resistance, it's harder to resist them. We took the approach of a temporary facility to get people familiar with the circulation patterns, but maybe that was our problem. Maybe we need to, expend the $50,000 instead of the $1,500, and I'm talking half facetiously here, but I've been racking my brain. How do we get these in? Maybe that's the way to do it. I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't be able to do that at my pay grade. So,
do I see Commissioner Bajaj's hands up?
Yeah, if it's all right.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Funabashi. If I have an opportunity to just make one more comment about that, I really applaud Redondo Beach's the Public Works Department, your efforts and, your responsiveness to the community and to the council. And it's quite remarkable to see like a department that is so actively making improvements and, taking the risk to put in some of these newer devices and so forth. So, I really do applaud your efforts. One thing I wanted to point out, I had a meeting recently with the City of Santa Monica engineers, and they also took out a few of their traffic circles. And I think they pointed out something that I had never given the consideration of. And it was something that kind of opened my eyes to seeing some of the opposition from the community. But Gene, if you get an opportunity, would you be able to pull your image up of one of the traffic circles again? And their comment was putting in a traffic circle in an intersection without the proper width and without the proper lane striping with the deflection to really slow people down on their approach and shaving off the corners where you could set back the pedestrian crossing points. One of the big issues they had in their community was as a through driver was driving and veering around the circle, as they were veering around the circle, essentially they were now in the pedestrian crosswalk path of travel. So there was a lot of uncomfortable conflicts with pedestrians and through drivers, especially familiar through drivers who would take those traffic circles as a little bit of a higher speed. And due to those pedestrian conflicts of peds in the crosswalk and drivers going around the circle, that mixing zone wasn't respected as much as the Santa Monica engineers were hoping it would. And that, got me to think that traffic circles, unless really thoughtfully designed, which make them really expensive when you set back the pedestrian crosswalks, when you have the right of way to put in the proper deflection and the striping, then it really does create sort of this unusual situation where people aren't sure if they like them or not. So I thought it was just worth pointing out because I thought it was quite enlightening when I heard that assessment for why they took theirs out.
Right, and that was actually as Andy mentioned, we're over 5. But the last batch of traffic circles, actually, all 4 of them went in at the same time. So the first one, I think at that intersection, we encountered basically what you're describing. We noticed, hey, we really need to set the crosswalks back, but of course we can't take them too far back from the ADA ramp. And
right.
We're trying to completely eliminate that conflict area as a whole. And so when we did the design this go around, what we did was we tried to maintain at least the minimum 22-foot distance, if you will, from the edge of the traffic circle to the delta of the curb ramp, because we wanted to make sure at the bare minimum, public safety fire trucks had no issue going around.
Right.
And, they tested our traffic circles and said they have no problems. We had garbage trucks go through them. We had public works vehicles drive through them. Wasn't really a problem. Some of the comments that we got from residents were things like, "Oh, the deflection isn't enough," right? And we had gotten comments like that, or some of the comments were kind of to your point, where, "Oh, drivers are driving into the crosswalk area," and it's like, well, there's this kind of fine line between where this general crossing area is and where we can provide enough of a deflection to slow the drivers down. And so, I guess a better, if I can kind of supplement my previous response to Commissioner Min, it was, we were, the main, I guess, opponents of the traffic circle seem to cite kind of the education aspect, or people don't know how to drive through this thing, or they don't know what they're supposed to do, as opposed to the proponents. They were all oh man, like this thing is great, really slowing down traffic. I can really see people slowing down and they're carefully going around this thing and things of that nature. And some of the opponents' responses were, oh, drivers aren't yielding, so the traffic circle, isn't working, right? And it was kind of like, well, that's kind of an education aspect. I mean, it's almost, you have a driver's license, you understand at a yield response, you yield the right of way to whoever has the right of way, right? And so there were these two very differing sources of responses, if you will, where the proponents were very kind of, oh, I understand the reason for this. It is reducing speeds. I've seen a reduction in volumes. And then the opponents were mostly, I don't really like the way it looks. I don't think people know how to use it. People aren't yielding when they're supposed to, and kind of referring more to kind of the education aspect of things. And so, we really tried, even in our design, to make sure that there was this fine balance between enough deflection, but not so much so as to encroach into the pedestrian areas.
And one last question was, given the fact that we're 0 for 5, did I hear you correctly that there's a proposal to put one on Burl west of PCH now? So there were two. It's two intersections, and that's actually, as I was giving that presentation, it was already, the way that the council has authorized staff to move forward with the traffic circles is actually based on the commission's recommendation for the 6-month trial process. And so the commission had already authorized staff to consider those two locations west of Burl Street for traffic circles prior to us taking these items to the city council. And so I believe at this point, we're still moving forward with those items. I think that's probably, as per the city council's direction and the commission's direction, what we're going to be doing. Okay, thank you.
Well, and I'll make some comments now too on this line of discussion that we're having, because we really gave it a valiant effort over the last 2-3 years, however many we've been, working on trying to find strategic locations. And we took a beating on social media, I got to tell you. And it was just the comments that were made. It's a learning curve issue with some people. It's how it looks in the initial trial phase, as was stated. That's kind of a given. We kind of understand that. But it's also, I make it a point to drive through them when they're first installed and kind of see how things are going. And I kid you not, I was coming up Fremona, and I don't know if it was a neighbor, but I'm coming north on Fremona, and this car just shoots right through the circle, probably 25, 30 miles an hour, didn't even slow down. So even though the data shows that our 85 percentile has brought the speeds down considerably overall, it's always the one or two that blow through it that don't, that necessarily skew that. It still goes downward for the percentile, but it's just those few that stand out. And of course, there's the neighbor who's on the corner watching all this, reporting it all on social media. So that's what we got. When I saw things in the South Redondo location kind of going south, this was probably a few months ago when it really hit pretty hard in social media. I just kind of figured we gave it a valiant effort, but I don't know, how staff feels about it, how we as a commission feel about, proposing these in the future. I can certainly picture that section of Burl, which is a whole different kind of traffic pattern than some of the other residential neighborhoods. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents to share. Obviously we're going to, if we do discuss this on a future agenda, we'll have to have some very serious conversation about just really where our community is at in all this, because we're learning, obviously, for the investment that we had for the temporary traffic circles, but at what point is it really worth it? People know 4-way stop signs. Unfortunately, that's what they want. It's what they know. And for all the comments we might hear about people blowing through stop signs, either because they didn't see them or they don't feel like stopping, that percentage somehow in the community seems to be more palatable than what we were observing with the traffic circles. So as some of our elected officials have said, give the people what they want, unless we do come up with some other way to educate them better than we've done previously. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. But, all right. Obviously, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file the presentation. Anyone?
I'll make such a motion.
I will second.
Okay, we got a motion from Commissioner Hannan, second by Commissioner Simpson. Any further discussion? Okay, then I'll just go down the line. Commissioner
Before you take-
Bajaj.
I'm sorry, before you take it away, I just want to let you know for the record, public communications.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Vicky. I appreciate
Certainly,
it. Thank
sir.
you.
I'm sorry.
So with no, it's all right. Then I'll get back to our vote. Commissioner Bajaj,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Glass,
Yes.
Commissioner Hannan,
Yes.
Commissioner Min.
Yes.
So, all right, with me then it's unanimous for receive and file. Thank you. Okay, so this is our term of the meeting for member items and referrals to staff. I will just bring up what we were discussing right at the very beginning of the meeting, if it's possible, to have a link, an email go out to the commissioners with a link directly to our agenda and supporting documents. That would be great. Obviously, it can be navigated too, but to, obviously head off any potential challenges in the future, if we could, if that can be done, that would be great. And then I'll just go down the list and the commissioners in the same. And if you have any requests or referrals to staff, I'll start with you, Commissioner Bajaj.
No, just happy to be here. Thank you. We're looking forward to serving with a lot of you. I see some familiar faces. I serve on the GPAC with Chair Funabashi and Commissioner Hannan and Commissioner Simpson. I know Kevin, Commissioner Min professionally. We both work for the city of Los Angeles. I've known Mr. Saman from back when we were both in the city of Torrance. And I think I've had some communication with Gene a couple times, but looking forward to working with everyone. Thank you. It seems like a good group of people.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Well, and welcome. Obviously, I do recognize our work, although it's been a little while since we've had our GPAC meetings. I know that's where you and I first met, and it's great to have you on board, so welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glass, any referrals?
Well, I just want to say that I've watched all of the resurfacing in North Redondo here, on the Ringe and some of these streets around here. And I think the Public Works group and their contractors have done a very good job. It hasn't messed up traffic. Just a good job.
All right. I know they love hearing that.
Yeah, they hear it now.
Commissioner Garcia.
Hi.
You're here.
No, I was just going to tell Ted if he wants to take a ride on Torrance Boulevard by Francisco, just let me know anytime. My office is right up the hill, so I can drive down anytime and meet you.
Sounds good. Either Gene or I will be in touch with you to go out there and look
All
at
right.
it in person.
I think he's specifically.
Sounds good.
Ted.
Too late, Gene.
Yeah, that's all I have.
All right. Commissioner Hannan.
I've got a question. I recently had a reason to go in to take a look at Public Works and see what the scope of work is. And it's huge, by the way. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, all the projects and the items that are, being maintained by Public Works. When I first became a Public Works Commissioner, though, I thought that I thought there would be certain things that we would be involved in, and over the years, it just seems like I guess where I'm going with this, let me just ask this question. Is there a criteria what goes before the commission and what does not? I mean, is there a threshold based on safety, based on if we want to collect community input? Is there a threshold based on whether it's a CPI, what it costs? It just seems like, I've always questioned this as to, what that is. What is that criterion? And I have not looked at the 2020 handbook, but I think I looked at the prior one. I didn't see it. Is that in the 2020 handbook for commissioners, what that criteria is? Or who makes that decision?
I'm not certain I have the correct answer for you at this point. That's something that we would need to look at. I think key elements would be if an item has gone through the city council or has been directed by the city council for certain actions, then it comes through the city council directly. A lot of it comes back to community input, public input, commission input on certain items that are being considered to be brought forward to the city council. But we could look at that a little bit further and touch base with you, Commissioner Hammond.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Good meeting. It's great to see everybody, by the way, and welcome new members of the commission. So happy to have you.
Commissioner Min.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of quick comments. Kind of echoing what Andy was mentioning earlier. I like traffic stuff, but I also am very interested in the other stuff that Public Works does. Even like I know we do with rec and parks and sewage and stormwater and urban forestry. Lately in my daily job I deal a lot with urban forestry and pavement, so it's kind of the things that I think about. But I've noticed in our city we don't have a lot of trees. There are some nice streets though that do really have nice streetscapes. I mean, I think Grant is one I do. We've got a line of trees and that just make it look really nice. So I echo your comment earlier, and that I think it'd be nice to hear some topics that are not necessarily traffic, but also deal with the public right of way in other ways. So I definitely echo you that, and I also echo the comment about making permanent traffic circles, just biting the bullet, spend that 50 grand, make it really nice. I mean, put beautiful flowers in there, and people will love it. They like shiny new things, and so I say bite the bullet, just pick a location, maybe do a little outreach before that, just to make sure the community is like, okay, yeah, cool, and see some cool renderings or something, and who knows, maybe it'll stick this time. So those are my only comments. Thanks.
All right. Commissioner Simpson.
Two things, and one of these is not about traffic, and as I recall at the time it did come before the commission, and that was this trial project for using the same Athens trucks to pick up recycling and trash and mingling, and people weren't. I mean, we're still supposed to put out. Truck came by and the same truck picked up the blue and gray. I guess that's now stopped, and I gather it's being evaluated. Is there any sense of how it's going to go forward? That's one point. And if will it come back to the board, or is that for a report? And the other thing is, up in my neighborhood on all the sidewalks, very recently there have been little white dots put on places where the concrete is uneven on the sidewalk. I'm assuming that's going to be someone's going to come through with a concrete saw and bevel the uneven spots. Is that the plan? And how long will that take? And is that a contractor or is that regular DPW people that will be doing it?
Okay, I think I can answer all those questions for you, Commissioner Simpson. First, on the easy one, the white dots. Yes, we have a contract to do the grinding of all uplifted sidewalks that have been reported that are 1.5 inches or less. So if you're seeing that in your neighborhood, they will be coming through. The contractor, it is an outside contractor that the city council approved the contract for. It's a very fast process. Once they come in, it's usually within minutes that they're able to grind. The machine itself will actually vacuum the materials as it's being ground. And our folks, the public works folks, will follow that contractor to measure and to take pictures of the work after it's been completed. We're going to be doing that citywide. We've started on the north end of town, and we'll be hopping back and forth between districts. So you'll be seeing that quite prevalently actually in the city. On the other part, as far as the Athens trial period, yes, we did have that pilot program that the city council approved. It was a 6-month trial period. It started right about the same time in February before we started the COVID impact. There was a glitch for a couple of days, but the contractor was able to maintain the pickup and the pilot program itself. So that program was just completed about 3 weeks ago.
That's something.
Right now, they're going through the data itself, and we will be going through a couple of iterations at the staff level and discussions with the staff at Athens. And the intention is to bring that back to the city council because that pilot program was ordered by the city council and asked to be returned to them upon completion. And right now, we are targeting December the 15th as a timeline to bring that back to the city council.
So it'll go to council, but not through the commission.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, and I have no direct referrals, although I do have a question before we adjourn, and that is I am seeing that our next meeting of our Public Works Commission is scheduled for 7 p.m. on Monday, December 28th. Is that correct?
The regularly
So
scheduled.
that we would not have a meeting in November.
Yeah, so we've, per the council's direction, we've now reverted back to bi-monthly meetings on even months.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. Okay, well, unless we have no other business before us, then I'll
Can I
entertain a
just-
motion to adjourn.
Can I just jump in on that, Chair Funbashi? Sorry. That is the schedule.
You have the floor.
That is the scheduled date. Of course, it's probably not likely going to stay on that date. We have to adjourn to that date because that's the next thing on our schedule. But we'll probably be, just because it's a city holiday, we're actually closed at City Hall that day. So we'll probably be sending out a rescheduling effort as needed for December.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying. I was kind of
Yeah.
fishing to see if there was something going on in the background
Yeah.
that might change that date. But obviously for today's formality, we'll certainly adjourn with that date in mind. Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I will make that
I
motion.
think Commissioner Simpson's hand went up first. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Oh.
Okay, second from Commissioner Hannan. I'll just go down. Commissioner Bajaj?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Simpson,
Yes?
Commissioner Glass,
Yes.
Commissioner Hannan,
Yes, and enjoy the holiday.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yeah, welcome Commissioner Bajaj, and that's a yes.
Thank you.
here, here. And then last but not least, Commissioner Min for our adjournment.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, it's unanimous then. I thank all of you for our meeting this evening. We got a little bit of work done and got caught up on what's happening around the city. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good
We'll
night.
see everyone again soon.
you.